All right, welcome to, as Steve Milam wanted me to call it.
Trigger wants to say hi.
Oh, hi, Trigger. The Tetra chat. So instead of quadriplegics, we're using tetraplegics because that technically, I guess, is the correct term.
Getting all Latin up in here.
Right. Thank you, Steve, for that. So I'm first going to go around, and I'm going to start with each person that I see on my screen here. And maybe you could just introduce yourself, your first name, your injury level, and ASIA score, or whether you're complete or incomplete, how many years you've been injured, and cause of injury, and maybe just a little bit about like where you live, you know, what your situation is. That'd be awesome. And we'll start with Karen.
Hey guys. Yeah, C6-7 complete quadriplegia. Motor vehicle accident 30 years ago this year. And I'm in Victoria, lovely Victoria.
Awesome. Jeff, you're up.
I am also in Victoria. I'm a C5-6 complete quadriplegic or tetraplegic, and got injured snowboarding coming up, well, I guess 8 years ago in April. I live in a regular apartment. I've got a shower bench. That's the only adaptation in the apartment itself. I got the building to install an automatic door. Otherwise, it's as is. I've got home support, so I'm on Cecil, Choices in Support of Independent Living, a program that allows me to hire and train my own employees, all funded by the government. And that's a 2 gig download for you.
Awesome, thank you. Alexis.
Hey. So officially my title is a C6 quadriplegic, though I've always said C6-7, but Dr. K keeps on correcting me to say I'm C6. Incomplete ASIA B, though that is not anything to do with motor ability in my system. It's just sensation. So I have sensation below the level of injury, but no motor. Live independently in North Vancouver in an apartment most of the time. I do have care 3 mornings a week to make my life a hell of a lot easier. I can do it on my own, but why the hell would I? To get to work on time and everything, it just makes my life so much easier to share the help out. And, you know, can I do laundry? Sure, but I don't want to. So, laundry, dishes, and cleaning of my apartment, please somebody else do it. Thank you very much.
Awesome, thank you. Dave?
Yes, I am Dave, and I'm C5-6 complete. Was injured in 1975, so going on 43 years in a diving accident. About 6.5 years ago, I moved to Athletes Village and live in a co-op here. So that's what up until that point, I'd been doing all my own personal care. But like Alexis, well, I also thought it was getting kind of dangerous and it was using a lot of my energy, and I was working full time. And so I had to go on long-term disability because of some back issues, and made the transition into using attendant care. And I'm also on Cecil. And I generally my caregivers live in. I have a 2-bedroom, so they stay over. They don't have to, but because I don't really need care at night. But it's convenient and I decided to do it that way because I've been traveling quite a bit, and I certainly can't travel on my own anymore. So, yeah, that's my story.
Awesome, thank you. Steve?
Steve Milam. I was hurt 30 years ago, and I didn't write down all the questions you asked. Diving. I consider myself a tetraplegic because I'm fortunate that I broke Jeff 5, 6. You're definitely quadriplegic in my mind. I have a fairly good hand, which lets me be as independent as possible. I'm married with 2 kids, so I don't need any assistance, but I don't know how I would do without my wife. That's my story.
Cool. Thanks, Steve. Olivia.
Hi, I'm Olivia. I live up in Whistler, which is definitely hard with all the snow now. I'm a C5-6 quadriplegic, now incomplete and now present as a C7. I'm actually just filling up all the paperwork and to get CSOL kind of going. My accident was a motor vehicle accident, and yeah.
How long ago, Liv?
A couple of years ago, so I'm pretty green with everything.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, thank you. And Teri.
Yeah, I'm hitting 40 years, C4 quadriplegic, and hurt in a diving accident in Penticton. And yeah, I'm on Cecil as well. I have overnight care just since I started using a CPAP. But yeah, I don't remember the rest of the questions, Teri.
Okay, that's good. No, perfect. Dan, last but certainly not least.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Dan. I was hurt 2 years ago, last month, in a diving accident down in Cuba. I live in a semi-adapted apartment, so my doors are larger, my bathroom is larger, my kitchen is larger, but everything is to the height of someone that would be standing. But it works for me because luckily I'm taller, so the counters aren't too high for me. I can still cook some stuff and get around quite easily in my apartment, which is, and it's a garden suite, so it's great. I'm able to let my 2 dogs out that I have and quite easily, and it's in Vancouver, close to all the buses and everything like that, so I'm able to get around mostly. And most of the time I get around using my smart drive pretty much every day when I use the bus.
Awesome, thank you. And I am Teri. I'm also C6, I'm Asia A. So technically I'm like C6 sensory, but C7 mobility is how they say I am. I've been injured for about 22 years coming up on now. I live in North Vancouver and I live with my partner who's also in a wheelchair. And I have a 8-year-old son. Yeah, and I guess that's what I had. A motor vehicle crash is how I got injured. All right, so let's get started just with, do you guys have, by a show of hands, do you guys have any special equipment that you kind of could not live without, that just makes your life easier? Could be anything.
I can start, and everybody can probably see what I use. It's called a joust, so it's a joystick mouse, and this is what I use to move the cursor around the screen. So yeah, since my left arm died, I don't know what I would do because I can't operate a trackball anymore. And yeah, so this is my key to independence on the computer.
Awesome. Alexis.
Well, I have an adapted apartment that I had sort of the luxury, in the sense of family raised a bunch of money to help purchase years and years ago. I've been injured 18 years, so I've tried a few tricks along the way, and my adapted bathroom and kitchen really allow me to live independently. So Can I travel and deal with, non-adaptive things with assistance? Sure. But to be independent and do my own stuff, I have I can get my knees underneath my kitchen sink, my bathroom sink. I have a full wheel-in shower. I have a side opening oven. That means, with the classic cutting board underneath, so I can pull things in and out of the oven on my own. So I know that we can make do with stuff, but I just, I really, when I travel, I desperately miss my accessible apartment. Yeah.
And Dan?
I use my smart drive. That's something I use it every day to go everywhere because I don't drive. So it definitely makes things easier especially when you get to some of the hills and stuff in Vancouver. It works fairly well with getting around. So that's one thing that I definitely didn't really go without right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think for me, I use Adapt, I do my own intermittent catheters, and I have a whole bunch of like adaptive equipment that I have to use. It was created for me that I've had for 22 years, and I still use that. And without that, like I wouldn't be able to do that, which, is always ultimately a choice. But for me, that's like what, I have chosen in my life to be able to do. And if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be able to do it. So, Jeff Scott?
I actually was talking to Ray-Ban about this. It's I kind of made it modeled after a pizza lifter, like getting a pizza out of a wood-fired oven.
Right.
I use it to lift stuff out of the oven, lift stuff out of the fridge. My hand goes in it like this, and I can get stuff out of the oven like a cookie sheet, single serving meals. I can get stuff out of the fridge, out of the microwave. I drop something on the floor, I can get it up off the floor. It doesn't have a handle if it's too heavy.
Jeff, your oven is a normal oven, like it opens downward then?
That's right, yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Standard.
That thing's cool. I like that. I want one.
It's super handy for sure.
Dave?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say I'll lower my hand now. I guess I'm knowing the rules. Probably I switched to using a power wheelchair full time about 4 years ago or so, and so because I don't drive unless I'm going out of town, it doesn't make sense to me to drive in Vancouver anymore. So I use transit and just I'm close enough to downtown that I can just wheel downtown. So that, and probably my track system, like for doing transfers, because when I did it myself, it was a much different setup. But now that I've got care, it's sort of assisted transfers. Although I do without it when I'm traveling, so I'm not sure if that. And I would say my adapted drumsticks. I would find it hard to survive without them. Yeah.
Steve? Can't hear you.
I don't have a lot of adapted. The only thing is a button hook. But really, my question was raising my hand. Jeff, you said Ray-Ban. You contacted Ray-Ban?
Oh.
Olivia's
That's
Olivia's nickname.
my nickname.
Okay.
You're like, how do I connect with Ray-Ban?
Ray-Ban's making lifting devices now.
I also use like a bath bench and a toilet seat, and I have a van lift in my van, so I don't have to drive like a full size van because I do not have very good depth perception apparently.
I'm not driving with you ever. I drive. She rides in the back.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it definitely helps having that, even though it's not always working. But Liv.
Yay. I guess like my adapted bathroom definitely helps. Like I can kind of get myself in the shower and do my thing. I also just got a car about 2 months ago, which is definitely like a big help to increase independence. I'm still learning how to like, I can't obviously like drive to Vancouver yet. Still learning how to kind of transfer and everything and deal with the snow and everything too. Another thing is I don't actually have my phone with me. It's called the pop socket, and it basically goes in between your two fingers, so it's easier to hold the phone and talk and not drop your phone everywhere. And I also have a fork and spoon that wraps around like your hand so you can eat and everything. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Cool. All right.
Teri, do you still have your hook on your phone to see if that's what she's meaning?
Yeah, it's a little bit different. I've seen Olivia's.
Oh, okay.
Alexis got me one that's like a ring.
It's called a pop socket.
Yeah, and hers kind of goes through your fingers. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Can you show us, Liv?
I don't have my phone with me. I can go get it. I'll have to like transfer and.
Oh, don't do that. I have can you see this?
Yeah.
I put a sort of a wire attachment onto my cell phone so I can actually just grab it off my lap, and as it starts to slip off my lap all the time, I can desperately grab for my phone and stuff. So I find this really handy.
So Olivia, you have to unraise your hand.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm just going to keep reminding you guys. So any tips and tricks that you guys use? I know for me, like how I eat is I kind of, and write is I kind of weave the pen through my hands. It's kind of hard to see, but I kind of do this sort of thing. And that's kind of like how I eat as well. Do you guys have any like tips and tricks that you have? Alexis?
Well, I've watched, Teri is a couple years, so I'm 18 years injury, Teri's 22. So I was lucky enough to be connected with Teri pretty soon after my injury, and we've kind of hung out and drank wine a lot over the years. So learned a lot from her and then from each other over the time. And I've watched Teri write, and for me, it just didn't work that way. So one of the small gadgets I use, which is not very expensive, is this piece this is my typer, but I have very similar writing utensils. So instead of me holding a typer, it holds me very simply like this, and I type, two fingers. I have one on my left hand, and I get two-finger type like the rest of the world, and I can type pretty quickly actually and keep up with most office tests when you go for word skills and stuff, and the writing for me is just a lot more efficient than feeding it through my finger, but that's just for myself.
Cool. Yeah. Anybody else? I know actually, Jeff, you and I the other day were talking about getting hotel keys out of so one of the tips that I had was like I put tape on it on the end just so I can kind of use both hands to grab it and pull it out. And then Jeff, you had a good idea too.
Yeah, just at the front desk, get them to hole punch it and put an elastic through. And then you can just put it in and snap it back out.
I've totally had hotels do that for me too, Jeff. Absolutely.
Good idea.
Cool.
Still doesn't help with a heavy door, but.
And did you have something else there, Jeff, to say?
I did, but I forget. I think it might have been, with utensils at home, I just put an elastic around the end of it. So about an inch in from the end, your hand goes on. And then that just helps with spoons and forks. I don't use knives.
Yeah. Dave?
Yeah, I just had a question for you and Alexis. When you're traveling, I mean, my power chair has elevation, so I could adjust to bed height quite easily. But
Yeah.
are you guys not finding that a big issue from a manual chair perspective?
Yeah.
Totally.
Like how do you do that transfer?
Some hotels, you can ask them, like if I'm doing more than 2 nights type thing,
Yeah.
I'll ask them to lower the bed if it's possible, and they'll take any support underneath the box spring and mattress out, and that'll usually bring the bed height down to that 23 to 26 inch off the floor height, which is pretty flush with my wheelchair, and then it's a straight transfer. Otherwise, yeah, I'm going up and I need help. So I've asked hotel staff to help in the past, and but I also travel with friends, family, and attendants. It's pretty rare I go solo. Well, this weekend I was in Calgary, sort of solo. Like I went out Friday, but I knew that I had a nurse next door coming to help with an evening routine, and so I just got her to help me in the bed because I didn't know the bed height. So that was one way to deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. I've just done, I do a lot of looking online of the hotels. If I'm traveling, in the past when I traveled on my own, and specifically looked at the bed heights, and same with Jeff, asked people to remove box springs, to take it out. If they couldn't do the box spring, or your legs of the bed, if it wasn't a permanent structure, or I just choose a hotel that doesn't use those stupid monster mattresses. And luckily, so far in the warm destinations, it seems that many of those hotels have not embraced them as they have in North America. So the North American hotels, yes, they have those monster mattresses. So you have to, most of the time they take the box spring out. It gets to a better height.
Yeah, I've had them do that, but not every time. And sometimes when they take it out, it's too low.
Yeah.
Or you can't get it just right. So, but anyway, it's not really an issue anymore with the power chair. But I just was curious.
But with my transfer, yeah, I definitely have to use my transfer board no matter what, because sometimes the base of the bed sticks out further than the mattress, and although I can potentially do a slide without a transfer board, it's just not with this butt. I need support. So
Right.
for a distance.
Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. Go on, Jeff.
I used to, same deal, travel with a transfer board, and I lost it. And then I started just taking a sweater or a shirt, and I'll shove that, I'll pack it flat in between my chair and the bed.
Right.
And sometimes I'll put it over my tire, so it's just a bit of cushion. And that's how I've gotten around not using a sliding board. And that's been helpful.
Yeah.
Keeps me out of that hole.
At one point, I dropped my sliding board and I couldn't find, I need it just in the situation. And I had grabbed the reservation, or there's an information binder on the tables and the desks in the hotels about information around the area. And I used their binder to transfer on. I bent the crap out of it. But I'm like, there we go, made it to bed and I'm safe.
Perfect.
Olivia, you got your hand raised there.
Hey, I'm just wondering how many people actually use a transfer board, because I find it was just so hard to such a mission to put it underneath you and take it out, and that for me I just kind of learned how to transfer without a board.
Mm-hmm.
I know I can say I do. My body shape is I'm 5'2" and solidly built. And I had no idea at the time of my injury until I was at physio, and my physio teased me endlessly after that. I have short arms. And I can't actually raise myself. So when you put your arms down beside you and you're on a mat and you go to lift up, most people have a little couple inches and they can lift their butts off the mat or a bed. My arms are on level with my bum. I have no lift. So it's really funny. I mean, it's nothing, you don't look like I have stunted arms or anything, but I had no idea. So when I slide across to things, I just can't reach as far. So for myself and my bottom heavy self, I use the transfer board.
Nice. I don't know, like I guess like for me, like I didn't have triceps at the beginning, but I do now, and that might help as well in terms of transferring. So, but
I have I have full triceps, but just
I'm just too short.
yeah, it's sure. I'm 5'1" now. Tell me,
Dave.
I used to always travel with a transfer board, and usually I just use it to get out of bed. But since I'm in a powered chair, I had a transfer bridge built that actually, well, I've got a custom slot for it that you just sort of pop it in when you're using it and pull it out. But sometimes you get adapted to your armrest slot. So it takes quite a lot of weight, and it just, fills that bridge between, so you're not bumping on the wheel, and it just rather than stuffing stuff between the bed and the wheel, you've got that padded bridge there just to fill the gap. Cool. Although those things, I got the last one made at priority seating, I think. It's like $350 for a little bridge, but
ouch.
That's what you got to pay nowadays. Yeah.
Dan?
I go to Tetra. Speaking of tetraplegia, go to the Tetra Society if you're looking for something custom and low tech.
Dan, go ahead there.
I use a transfer board because, like, with me, I have some triceps, but not that much. I'm pretty heavy. So for me to do a transfer, it's tough. But I have a sliding board and I put this in it, a handle, and it makes things way easier. Like, so you can actually grab it and force it underneath you. And then I'm thinking about putting a little hole on the other side, just like so you get your thumb in and wiggle it out again, right? Once it's under you. And it definitely makes things a lot easier for me because doing a transfer without is a little bit tough. I think it's more technique than anything I got to figure out, but that's about it.
Yeah, when I use I have the same thing. I've got a couple holes cut out that I put my thumb in, grab it, or on some of the fabric ones, I have a handle that I sewed on there, or I didn't sew, someone sewed for me. But I don't, I can do level transfers, but definitely, as Dave was saying, on hotel beds that are high up, I will use it. And so I have to lift up my leg to really shove the sliding board underneath me, and then kind of lift my butt up a little bit to get it on the corner. And the reason why I have two different types of sliding boards is because if I'm bare butt or not, it makes a huge difference. So on my wood sliding board, my bare butt sticks, and on the fabric one that I have, which is kind of like a slippy material, I can slide better on it. So yeah, that's kind of my little things. Karen, did you want to say something? I kind of saw you say anything, but you know what? Okay. Jeff, did you want to say something? I heard you.
No, I want to hear Karen. She's not talking enough.
I know. I gotta say, Karen allowed me to live with her in her home because I wanted to be more independent in my life, and she's my mentor. So I learned everything from her. And oh yeah, go Karen.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of in between all of you. Like, I agree. The beds are atrocious these days in hotels. I don't use a board, but what I found is I always quite often wear a vest, and the slippy kind of mesh vest. And I find that's a bit of magic, actually. Just tuck a bit under my leg and spread it out to the bed. And once you get up enough, you basically just zip right over on it because it's material. So really, I wear my vest for not only, warmth reasons, but I use it to transfer quite a bit too. And I miss the whole thing. I miss the conversation on, I'm kind of the same as Alexis, like what you can live without and live with and live without. But I'm also very fortunate to have an accessible home. Was able to do a renovation, and having a kitchen again, as you said, and a bathroom just makes it. And also, as a piece of equipment for me, I had a lift built or kind of modified to get into my bike. And so I can't transfer from my bike back into my wheelchair. So all I have to do now is pop on this lift and it goes down, and then I transfer in the bike, and then I can get out of the bike and the lift comes up. And then as I realized a couple weeks ago, I fell for the first time getting into bed, and that was a first for me. And I was like, I live alone, so I was like, what am I gonna do? And then I was like, oh, the lift. So all I had to do is kind of across the house and get on this to get back in my chair. So as far as living independently, and I live a little rural also. So that now that has happened, I have full confidence that if I ever happen to slide down, it wasn't really fall, it was more like a slide, but if that happens again, I have no problem getting back into my chair, and I don't have to worry about calling someone or anyway, all in a nutshell.
I like it. I like it. Steve, you had your hand up earlier. Did you want to ask a question or say something? Oh, we can't hear you again.
I forget what I was going to say.
Oh, yes. That's okay.
I don't.
We can't hear you again.
I don't have any adaptive equipment, and I still
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now I can't hear you, but anyways, I'll figure that out. But I hate traveling now. Where years ago I didn't mind it, but everything's getting higher and I'm getting lower or something. I don't know, but yeah, I don't have a lot of adapted stuff, but I'm certainly feeling my age.
Olivia, who's that? Teri?
That was Teri. Sorry, I didn't put my hand up, but it seems to me everybody has trouble in hotels now, where people that transfer independently. I wonder if the hotel association, whoever they may be, know about this, because they know that we're a niche that travels and spends a lot of money on traveling. It makes no sense that the hotel beds should suddenly be raised up with that pillow top nonsense.
Especially in an accessible suite.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Classic.
So I wonder if they know.
I think with people, like, I feel like they're able-bodied people, they don't really get what unable body have to go through. Like, it's just, like, I mean, before my accident, I had no idea the barriers that kind of came through when you are a paraplegic or quadriplegic. So
I just think after sorry, Olivia. I just think after they have to remove a mattress or remove the base 50,000 times, that they might actually think of making that bed in an accessible room lower.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I was actually surprised. There's one time my parents got ramps so I could get into their house. I stayed in a hotel in Chilliwack at a Coast Hotel, and I got the accessible hotel room, and they didn't have a wheel-in shower. It was really weird. And it was like a massive, huge bed that was like way too high. And then and it was the first time I ever stayed in a hotel too. So I found it so weird that there wasn't a wheel-in shower.
Yeah, they're uncommon. Very uncommon.
Yeah, I think it happens pretty often. Like I had to go to a wedding in the Okanagan, and it was the same thing. Like they said the place was going to be accessible, but then I actually got there, and the bathroom was definitely not accessible. I don't think I could even get into the actual bathroom because the doors were too narrow.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness.
That's quite common.
Yeah, crazy.
You have to be willing to compromise when you travel, that's for sure.
Yeah, I had
all
some
about compromise and
but
I'm allowed to talk.
You're allowed to talk, Steve.
They have the beds for the elderly that can't get up. So, I mean, we are a small niche, but they're a larger niche.
All right.
But education has to be brought to them that they should, in the accessible suites, they should have beds that go up and down.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say. I'm going to listen.
Let's make it happen.
I'm just wondering if within any community, whether they could be, like, I guess with the municipality, like, there could be somebody like that that goes around and just takes a look at, like, accessibilities in hotels and just in a town, basically, like in cities, or yeah.
They do have that now, actually. Rick Hansen Foundation has consultants in a program that they're supposed to. But I think, Karen, do you know if the company itself has to ask for it, or if they do random checks, or if you were to,
Like meaning going checking them out?
yeah, so they have like an accessibility consultants that are now paid staff members that go to schools or buildings, or and they're people with lived experience, and then they check the accessibility, and they're given a rating, right? But what I don't know is if that business or school or organization or whatever has to contact them, get an accessibility checklist, if it's done sort of like the accessibility consultant goes out and just does it randomly and then gives them feedback, or if a person like one of us said, hey, could you go check this out and give them feedback? I don't know how that works. So
I've seen their website, and I know that there is definitely a spot for businesses to request it, is what I can say. I assume then that means they have to request it, but I'm sure
Seems weird. That's something that not everybody thinks about, for sure, owning a business.
Yeah.
Well, I find it odd that once they've had the request, they still ignore it.
Yeah.
Go back to the same hotel 10 years in a row and they still haven't lowered the bed, although you stay there all the time and you're there once a month asking them to lower the bed like that.
Yeah. Steve and Olivia, you both have your hands up there. Do you want to? Okay, just making sure.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I guess this is back. I remember where I put my hand up. Now it's back to transferring with the boards. When I was using a board, I found the ADI boards were really good. You could pick like you could pick whether you wanted like the hands kind of things, whether you want them vertical or horizontal. And there's also like an anti-slip kind of surface. And then also when I was putting a board under me, I would just cross one leg over the other and then put the board underneath and then uncross the leg to put the board underneath me. But I haven't used a board in a really long time. Like I just don't really use them anymore.
Yeah, it's hard. One thing I learned when I first went to rugby is they told me that, this is like 20 years ago, they said, if you bring a board, we're just going to get rid of it. You'll never see it again. I was like, oh my God, because I used a board all the time. So
I'll speak on that one because I was not said to my face during tennis, but it came back to me that people were, the males of the area were saying, oh my God, she's using a board to transfer. Well, I said, suck it, because that's the way I'm going to be independent, to do a chair-to-chair transfer. And I had to, we think about only having pressures from the outside. We're talking about hotels not being aware. Sometimes I feel from just, from one SCI injury to the next, there's a bit of a pressure to be the norm, we'll call it. And not everybody can do what somebody else does to be independent, or to do a chair-to-chair transfer, or go to the bed and stuff. And there's the male pressure to, show up at wheelchair rugby and do what I do, goddammit, because that's the way you do it. And I've got my testosterone going on, and I had to push, I just had to ignore that. I didn't even talk, worry about speaking to the person who said that about me using a transfer board. I just showed up the next time, and I played for years, and I used my transfer board to do chair-to-chair transfers because that's how I could only the way I could do it. So yeah, sometimes you need to push back on some of the, even the own peer-to-peer pressure that we receive.
Yeah, just so you know, I do not get that from rugby now. They are like 20 years ago, it was a lot
Yeah.
different than it is now, for sure.
Well, I think there's something to be said about it too. Like it works for some people, doesn't work for others. Like just a tough love, you know. Like I think it still exists at rugby, not as maybe abrasive as it once was, but they definitely in the past have challenged me to challenge certain aspects of my life to see if I can do it in a supportive way. Like they're going to watch me fall, and if I fall, they'll call help.
Yeah.
Or if I was doing it on my own, I wouldn't necessarily have that. Or they're there giving me tricks, how to arrange my feet, where to put my hands, just different techniques that have worked for them to try and help me become more independent. And yeah, it is a tough love. Works for some, doesn't work for others.
No, totally, Jeff. Sorry, please don't get me wrong. We can learn. Yeah, we can learn so much from each other. And I think, as you say, it's all in the delivery and the supportive environment that if you push yourself, you can do so much more.
For sure.
I think if there's one, Teri, one of your questions was, you know, what would you tell yourself at, you know, the time of your injury? If you have the physical capability, I would say find a sport that you can do, because I was barely pushing down, you know, a hallway, let alone a block, when I first left GF. Hell, I left GF Strong in a power chair, and now I'm pretty independent in a manual chair, can do most ramps that are not stupidly steep and things. And that's not from, you know, acquiring any further motor development below the level of injury. I've just been able to maximize what I have, and it's because of sport and just, you know, seeing what everyone else is doing or the capabilities of what your body can do with your level of disability.
I think it kind of depends also, like, I guess with other people pushing you, sometimes it pushes you to, like, it depends on your personality, whether you want to try it or not, but sometimes it helps you, you try something that you wouldn't have tried because of the push that you get from other people. And you can surprise yourself with what you can do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think also never underestimate the power of a peer, whether that's a male or female or both. And, you know, like Teri said, when she moved in and we spent some time with each other, I learned things too. It wasn't just Teri that went away with learning things, but just having that time and how do you do this and how do you do this, instead of reading in a book or having a nurse tell you how to do it. Just the ability, and as time goes on with the injury, being able to think outside the box and have that independent thought of what works for me, because just because it worked, like Teri's got the wingspan of an eagle, for God's sake, and I'm like Alexis, like I'm a little hobbit. So seriously, so
I've seen her, the way she leans down. Sure, I may have the curled fingers, but man, she could like lay on the ground and she's still in her chair, for God's sake.
Exactly. So you can't get too caught up. Yes, there's always the benefit of learning from other people how you do things, but take that and make it your own. Make what works for you and in your own way.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, the interesting thing that I think all of you guys are kind of bringing up is, like, I know for me, you know, I got hurt when I was 24 years old. I was very independent. I was, you know, young. And I wanted to learn everything, how to be as independent as possible, right? And so I did. But over the years now, as I'm aging with the spinal cord injury, independence looks very different. Like I fought so hard to be able to do everything myself. And now I feel like I've got to make certain choices in my life so that I can have a life, right? Like taking care of myself was a full-time job, you know, and it's everyone's choice of how they want to do it. So I think like taking out the judgment of what we have on others is very important. You know, I think the competition is kind of good. Like it kind of spurs me on a little bit, like not only in sport, but just in life, but also like realistically looking at life and just saying where you're at. And independence is different, because independence is communication with your healthcare professionals, right? Or your healthcare team or your care workers. Like, you need to learn how to build that community, right? Anyways, Dave, sorry, you wanted to say something.
No, I was basically just going to say what you're saying in a sense, that because when I went through rehab in Ontario, and it was a very independence-driven kind of formula they used. So, and I was 19. I mean, of course, I wanted to be independent and live my own life, and I had this idea of what independence was, and I don't regret in any way sort of figuring out a way to do that, and doing it for so many years. But as time went on, I realized it was limiting my quality of life. And, you know, I'm in my 60s now, and you can't make the same choices. You know, at some point you've got to adapt to the new situation. So for me, it was about quality of life over isolation and independence, you know, because I started to feel like I was losing my ability to socialize as much as I wanted to in various things. So, and it was not saying it was an easy decision. I was almost suicidal over it, to be frank. Like, I didn't want to lose my privacy and all that stuff you get with being independent. You know, you suddenly got people coming in and you're just sprawled out naked all the time. Sometimes that could be good.
Yeah.
But no, and I think now that I've made that transition, I've had friends like Teri that have been dependent on. I just don't see it as dependency anymore. I see it as you making decisions where you're still in control of your life, whether you have it or not.
Self-managed independence.
Yeah. So that's really what it was about. I've got to sign off, unfortunately. I've got something else I got to get to, but
Thank you, Dave.
I really enjoyed it.
You,
I
Dave.
think more of these conversations would be great, and
Yeah.
it sort of makes me realize how much we're all doing to survive in many ways, but we're all living, you know, good quality lives. So that's a good thing.
Thank you, Dave.
Rock on.
Yeah. All right. See y'all soon.
Bye. And I don't want to keep like all of you guys on for too long. I know I said 12:30, so I'm giving 2 minutes, and then if anybody wants to chat longer, that would be awesome, because I like always have lots of stuff to say. But I really would like to know, like, what do you do for fun, and what's the craziest thing that you've ever done, like, as a person in a wheelchair? Erin.
I'd have to say skydiving and underwater diving.
Cool. And what do you do for fun now?
Well, I would say I'm kind of like Dave in the sense that like socializing has changed a bit too. I love having dinner parties. So hosting a dinner party is all fun for me.
Awesome. Jeff Scott. Oh.
For fun, I love playing poker, playing rugby, and yeah, socializing. Those would be probably the 3 things I enjoyed most. Craziest thing I've done would be, I was up in Bella Coola, and one of my sister's friends up there knew that I was in the hospital, connected me with a fellow who I was in ICU with. We shared space in ICU. He had a fishing boat, so he invited me out on his fishing boat to go check out these hot springs. The transfer from the rail of the fishing boat down to the dinghy, the rail's probably 9 feet off the water. So I had to get hung over the side of the fishing boat, pass to my friend in a dinghy at water level.
Oh, jeez.
And then we went to shore, hung out in the hot springs. Then I came back and had to get passed up that 9 feet, all whilst both boats are moving. And yeah, it was dicey for sure, but yeah, it all worked out. So
You're still here.
Such a trooper.
Awesome. Alexis.
Craziest. A couple fun things. Zip lining this past summer, and also over the years, a couple of hikes, 2-night, 3-day overnight hikes with friends and family, dragging my butt up a mountain. But those were a lot of great times involving other help, and I mean, people helping me get it to things, which is awesome. Probably the thing that I pushed myself to do was travel independently. Now I wasn't stupid. I went to all inclusives, but I've been to Dominican Republic and Mexico independently on my own, just because I was so tired of waiting for a partner in life that I was like, fuck it, I'm not waiting anymore. I'm just going. And sure, I did a bunch of research and phone calls, and travel agent helped me for the first time. I used a travel agent, and they did a lot of phone calling. So that was awesome. For fun, I have had a fabulous man cross my path now, and he just moved in. So I do have a partner in crime, which is kind of awesome. And we do a bunch of things. And I brought him into my life of socializing with, seems to be a lot of people with disability. And he says he's never been more active in his life as he's met me. So we do a lot of fun stuff together. So it's exciting times.
Cool. Teri.
What do I do for fun? That's a tough one. The craziest thing, I'll jump to that, was scuba diving as well. I went diving when I was living back in Nova Scotia for a while. So yeah, that was pretty crazy, putting your life in two people's hands. And now what do I do? I'm not sure. Busy. I'm busy all the time.
So, how's your beatboxing going? Or your
Beatboxing.
Yeah.
You must have me mistaken for.
No, not beatboxing. What's that thing that you were doing? The box thing, playing music.
Oh, the jam box.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Jam box. Yeah, that's that's not going very well.
Oh.
Pointed up at the ceiling right now. I haven't used it in a while.
That's good. Well, you do a lot of work for us. That's for sure, for sci-bc. So.
Yeah, that's my most enjoyable thing, I think.
Awesome. Olivia.
I actually found my pop socket.
Yeah. Hey, there you go.
It's this little thing here, and then it comes down, and then you can just lift it up.
Cool.
And put your hand into it. It's great little thing. What do I do for fun? In the winter, I've started sit skiing. I really like that. I was always on the mountain, so it's kind of nice to be able to get back on the mountain. I'm just learning how to mono ski now, which is so hard. Really hard to keep your balance. And then in the summer, I've tried like kayaking and mountain biking, and those are both pretty fun with the Whistler Adaptive Program. And then also socializing, obviously. And yeah.
Awesome. Steve?
Probably for fun, I've been looking after my kids for the last 20 years, and I've probably only got 4 or 5 months left of my daughter at home, so things will change socially. But I'm with Karen. I like dinner parties. And the stupidest thing I've done a lot of stupid things. Jeff, I'm probably same story as you, or similar story. Fishing boat off the coast of New Zealand and 3 quads. They rented us the boat.
Funny. Well, that was a stupid thing they did, but.
Yeah. And then we put the anchor down out in the open, and the wind came up, and I got the best hand and jumped on the ground, and we were using our teeth and everything.
Oh.
Went inland and put the anchor out again. So you weren't talking about the 3 sharpest knives.
Good times.
Dan?
What I do for fun? I mean, I do play rugby. I like going to sporting events and stuff like that. I've been to a bunch of Canucks games. Went to it last summer. My girlfriend and I, we had a a wedding in New Brunswick, so we stopped in Toronto and went to a Jays game there, which is pretty cool. I haven't really done anything crazy, but I mean, I do trying the things like being in Vancouver. I went sailing last year. That was pretty fun. Kayaking. I want to do more of that this year. Maybe try sturgeon fishing this summer, I think, but that's pretty much all I do. I haven't really done anything crazy in my chair yet, so
You got time.
I have time for that though. Yeah.
You know, I think what I do for fun now is obviously rugby as well, but and I love to socialize, as you all know. So I like my wine and I like my dinners, but not really, I don't cook. I like to go out. But I think that like when I look back at my life that I did like when I was in my 20s versus now, I think even just traveling for me is I can't believe all the places I went. Like I think I went back and forth from Australia like 4 different times, you know, in 1 year, like just and on my own. And now I like can't even do a Calgary 1 hour flight. Like, God, I don't want to do this.
Oh, you could do it, Teri.
I do it, but yeah. So I just like, I don't know, it's not really crazy, but I just think, wow, I just can't believe I did that, you know? Like, what was I thinking? Lex, did you want to say something? Your hand is raised there.
Oh, I did. I guess the one thing I went out to do the last couple of years that's really spoken to me is I love to sing. And so, you know, I don't know, you know, it doesn't always have to be around disability or in groups with people with disability. I challenged myself and I tried out for an audition choir and I got in and I'm the only chick in a wheelchair and I ruined the whole front line because there's tall standing people and chick in a chair. So I'm always in the center, front and center in the choir. There was close to about 100 of us in the choir. And also I went out and once in a while there's solos for the songs and I've tried out for a couple solos and I got one 2 years ago and I've tried out this year for another solo and I don't know if I'm getting it, but challenge yourself. Who knows, right? If there's little things that you like to do in life, then sometimes people go, okay, I've never thought about having somebody like you join in, but all right. Works out.
Yeah. I've actually applied to Project Airtime to try paragliding.
Oh,
cool.
I think that would be kind of cool. I have a friend that's he's a para and he paraglides and just loves it. And it's something I wanted to do before my injury, and then now I'm like, well, might as well, you know.
What's right in their title? They titled it for them.
Yeah.
Paragliding.
They're great.
Awesome. Teri, you got your hand raised there?
Yeah, well, thanks to Dan, I remembered sailing is my big passion.
Oh, yes, that is it.
Right.
Yeah, I live for the summer, for the sailing season.
Awesome. Yeah. And Steve?
I got to run, but Dan, there's I kayaked it. I got a great backrest that was made in Washington. So if you're interested, I'll send you a link.
Okay.
Olivia, if you ever get a chance to talk to Lars Taylor or meet Lars Taylor, he paraglided with his wife for years.
Nice.
So there's lots of stories and history out there. So.
What was his name?
Lars Taylor. If you send me an email, I can forward you his information.
Okay. Is he in Vancouver as well, or?
He's in Vernon now.
Oh, okay, cool. Awesome. I got a lot of friends that live there.
He designed a chair to land on his own out in the field, and yeah, they did some.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is like, I guess you would need to have something on your wrist, right? Because like I guess like you use a lot of your hands to be able to steer and everything. So it would be, they probably have something that's kind of adapted to sit on your wrist so you can actually like steer yourself when you're in the air.
He is a paraplegic, so maybe he knows the quad that did it. I don't know.
Yeah, my buddy is a paraplegic as well, and he's just like, that's going to be the biggest challenge is just like use a lot of your hands normally to be able to steer yourself. So they would have to have something that hangs onto your wrist so you can
But if
kinda
Brad
do it.
Zanovinsky can climb a mountain, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you need people to launch you off, obviously, too, because you can't really do that. But yeah.
Anyways, I got to run, guys. Thank you very much.
Bye, Steve.
Take
Bye.
care. Nice
Good to see you, Steve.
See you, Karen. Take care.
Take care.